Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We've got another action-packed market update this week. We're going to take a look at the headlines that move the markets, what we can expect going forward, and we're going to start off with our new segment that's been really popular on this day in history. So I tweeted something out this afternoon as well, but it was only 2 years ago to the day that Coinbase was only trading Bitcoin, and they announced support for Aetherium. Now, this came at a time when Aetherium had just had their hard fork, successfully returning stolen funds. It was very early on in the piece, and Aetherium was still a buggy technology. The community had agreed that that was the right thing to do, and then surprisingly, out of the blue, out of nowhere, Poloniex, which was the largest altcoin exchange at the time, along with Bittrex, and how times change. But anyway, they listed Aetherium Classic. Some miners got together, kept mining that chain, and that's how that story came about. I might talk about it more in detail on who was exactly involved, but a similar story, I guess, that there was a small section of the community that weren't really happy with that, and that's how the new coin was formed. And it was on this time last year when Bitcoin had its hard fork, and again, there's a small section of the community that wanted to really increase that block size, and we weren't sure. There's a lot of uncertainty around the SegWit 2x hard fork, if the 2x part of that was still going to go ahead to increase the block size to 2 megabytes, as well as implementing SegWit. So Brian Armstrong came out at the time and said, look, we're not going to support any hard forks that result new coins from this upgrade. But obviously we know that change once Bitcoin Cash had a segment of the community that obviously support that project, and they ended up giving everyone that Bitcoin Cash and eventually listing that coin. It now trades, and we know Coinbase have really been open to list a lot more coins in the future, and we're just reading today that they've lost a lot of market share to Binance and some of these other exchanges. So as I keep saying, guys, the race is on. People want your fees, they want you as a customer on their platform, and it's only going to benefit everyone as we get better and better user interfaces and user experiences as well, I guess. So one of the biggest stories this week was Congressman Brad Sherman. I tweeted him, heaps of other people tweeted him saying that, look, you can't just say that cryptocurrency has no use case and the US dollar can do anything, anywhere, anytime. Okay, that's just BS. Now, a lot of people called him out, and it's funny how karma comes around and catches people out like this. So his top campaign donation came from a credit card company, I believe, and they had to forfeit $13.3 million for facilitating illegal gambling. So again, that's, I believe in karma, guys. I'm not sure about you. So a few of those surveys, and again, thank you to everyone that votes in these on Facebook and on my Twitter account here. So do you believe the price of mining puts a floor in the Bitcoin price? And a lot of people have been talking about, oh, we can't really go below the price of mining. Well, guys, the answer to that is actually no. It has a relationship, but it certainly doesn't put a floor in the price. So if Bitcoin price were to continue to go down, the miners that aren't profitable, that have expensive electricity bills, they will drop offline, the hash rate will drop, the number of computers mining Bitcoin, and those that are profitable will continue mining, and the difficulty will adjust. The moral of the story is that an equilibrium will just get formed, okay, guys? So it's funny how Bitcoin mining, we find ourselves talking a lot about mining gold, and we spoke about the gold miners and altcoins I'm going to talk about again tonight. But just because the price of gold drops below a certain level, those gold miners that aren't profitable will stop mining. Or we saw oil drop to $25 a barrel a couple of years ago, and all the people that are shale producers and tar sands, they go offline, and that's how that whole OPEC oil war sort of played out. So guys, it's very similar to Bitcoin, and I might talk about that in a lot more detail if it's something that interests you. Another big story this week was Hashflare stops services, disabling their contracts. So cloud mining is something that's fraught with danger over the years, guys. I've seen so many people get scammed. Look, this one, I don't think they ever intended to set out, nefarious in nature and rip people off. But unfortunately, this is the reality. When you're buying expensive equipment and the Bitcoin price drops 70%, or other coins, 80 to 90%, as I just said, there's going to be some people that aren't profitable, particularly when they're paying out to people, and there's a lot of other overheads, paying staff and all those sort of things, guys. So you've just got to be aware of it. I don't think that this was a straight out scam. I don't want to talk badly about them, guys. Again, I want more details to come out. Maybe they come back online in the future. Who knows? But you've just got to be so careful. Everything in this space comes back to education. I'd encourage you to try and learn about mining and join another pool or set it up at home with some friends or something like that, guys. Or just be so certain that, you know, it's a lot of danger if you're going to do anything in the cloud space. And it's unfortunate to see a lot of people did get burnt that had a lot of money. They hadn't been getting a lot of profit out, and they've sort of lost those initial deposits and contracts and whatnot. So let's see how this story plays out. Be aware in the next bull run, guys. All the scammers are going to be out there with, you know, cloud mining. We've seen BitConnect and USI Tech. Okay, they're all going to come back again. They're all going to promise big riches, and again, people are going to get scammed. Hopefully, there's so many people in this space that have been through a couple of cycles now, they can keep their friends and family out of trouble. So a few of the videos we did this week, guys, check out that interview with Pomp. He says $50,000 Bitcoin is a certainty. It's just a matter of when. Obviously, Trader Cobb and I spoke about those clues in the charts, particularly the altcoins that were giving us a sign that the bottom might have been in. And the Bitcoin ETF has been the talk of the town. Charting Man Dan and I share our thoughts about that. And a lot of people have been talking about this image, been floating around Reddit and Twitter and whatnot. So look, fractals is also something very interesting. Again, I absolutely love all documentaries, and I've watched a lot of those about fractals and how we get these patterns in nature, and history often, you know, doesn't repeat, but it can rhyme. All those sort of things, guys. So I'm very open-minded to what happened here in the gold space. But the truth is, you know, this chart played out over years and years and years. Now, we do live in a far more instant and interconnected world. So for this pattern to play out in a similar way, you know, I'm definitely thinking that it's a possibility, and then ETF's going to cause a big run up in price. But is it going to play out exactly the same as this? Exactly the same time frames? You know, some would argue that gold ETF really took away demand for physical gold itself, and a lot of the ETFs aren't 100% backed, and, you know, paper certificates and leverage and all that sort of thing. So again, if we get a Bitcoin ETF that is required to hold 1-to-1 Bitcoin, you know, that's what we want. We want huge demand for actually buying real Bitcoin. And again, a lot of people aren't happy necessarily that we've got so many leveraged instruments and derivatives for other products these days that, you know, tend to take off that demand for the real underlying asset. So let's see how this story plays out. But yeah, I don't expect this to play out exactly or perfectly, but again, a lot of the targets that people were lining up with their fractals were between 40 and 60,000, and that's where I see Bitcoin going in the next 18 months definitely as well. So the biggest story this week was probably that BlackRock news, and it actually happened only a few hours after I'd recorded my video Sunday night here, Australian time. So when this came out, you know, the world's largest asset manager, I was so excited about this, and then the market didn't really move. And you guys know that I posted that this news is far more significant than the current market reaction, which is sort of 3 a.m. on a Sunday night. So there wasn't a lot of, you know, US traders that have been driving the market recently. So in the past, last year during the bull run, we had Korea and China, Australia responsible for a lot of the volume, and that has changed. So a lot of the action now is happening each morning when I wake up. It's happening in that US trading session. So look, it changes, it may change again, but this was an opportunity, and I just said that, look, when the US wakes up, I think this they're going to have that reaction to this really good news. So traders, be at the ready, and obviously we saw that huge spike when the US markets did wake up. And maybe it wasn't just this article. We've been talking for weeks about how there's been so much underlying good news. Maybe we just got to that straw that broke the camel's back, and it could no longer be ignored by the market, everything that was happening. So one of the poll I just want to mention again in Crypto Australia, guys, so thanks to everyone that voted, but 283 people saying that their funds are fully deployed. But again, we sort of have about 50% as many people waiting for the bottom. And those numbers chopped and changed a bit, and the most even split we got was about 45-55 on Twitter. But I just wanted to re-highlight that if the bottom's in, there's a lot of people that were waiting for another low to buy, and that is what propels those strong moves. And in Elliott wave theory, we sort of look for that wave 3. When we come off the low, we have a bit of a pullback, which we might be looking at now. I'll talk about that in a second. And then that sentiment that gets created. So a few other good news items this week. Look, just more legitimacy to the space. IBM, that stable coin, Stellar has been moving really well lately, and they've really differentiated themselves from, just a hard fork of Ripple, as some people sort of view them over the years. So again, a very interesting coin. I'm going to talk about more, and we've got a special episode I'll mention at the end coming up tomorrow night as well. Ethereum, the Raiden testnet. So this is Ethereum's Lightning Network, guys. It's the last update on the testnet before launching. So scaling solutions just around the corner for Ethereum. I've got my Mesa Go hoodie on here, guys. You know I'm so bullish on Plasma and everything that they're working on with the Mesa Go as well. And there's a fantastic article out during the week for you Mesa Go lovers that I'm going to talk about in tomorrow's special episode as well. Finally, another really significant article because of what Visa have said in the past about cryptocurrency, and now we have their opponent MasterCard coming out and winning this patent, speeding up crypto payments. Look, I'm not necessarily a fan of people sort of trying to patent all this blockchain technology in a truly decentralized world. With a lot of open source software, people are going to be able to copy it. And who do you sue in a decentralized world if everyone's just running some software, if someone sort of copies your technology? So that's just something to be mindful of. And again, interesting conversation that we'll probably continue to have as we see more and more people trying to patent specific little use cases for blockchain technology. That was probably it for the videos I wanted to cover there, guys. But again, that Bitcoin ETF, I think that's going to continue to be the talking point. So make sure you've got your head around those concepts and whether or not you feel it's going to be approved, because this could cause headlines for weeks on end. Okie dokie, so getting into the charts. So last week, all eyes were on this head and shoulders pattern, and we were only trading at $6,200 last week. And as I said, it was only a few hours later where we really got that BlackRock news, and it was the best trading week we've had for months and months. So 5 green days in a row we have not had on the charts since back here in January from memory. Where are we here, guys? Either way, it's been a long time. There it is there. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so 5 days in January. Wow, where did the bulls come from? Had everyone given up? Those of you that are still watching were the true believers, I guess. We didn't really think this head and shoulders pattern was going to play out because so many people were eyeing it off, but it did play out almost perfectly, and now we're just having a breather. So let's just zoom into the 4-hour chart and have a look at a couple of things here. So for our cycle brackets, we were mentioning that this was the first bracket here, this length of time where we'd had a right-hand translation where we go up for the majority of the bracket, then we cool off, and then we have another leg higher. And we were waiting to see if we could get the same push again where we push up for the majority of the length of this bracket, and now we're waiting to see if we maybe get some cool-off period for a few days or so, or if we just continue to trend higher and only have a little brief pullback before that next leg up. So look, we've already cooled off and we haven't given a lot back price-rise, and that's all extremely bullish, guys. So plenty of positive signs. The other thing that we were talking about was this weekly volume. Sorry, I'll go back on auto there. So the volume had been declining across all exchanges. Sentiment had been dropping. And here we go. We've still got 24 hours left in this trading period. So this volume bar is going to end up finishing somewhere up here, guys. But the fact is, again, it's the most positive trading volume we've seen since that big rally in April, 5 green weeks back to back before we hit that really stiff resistance we had on the charts there. So there's so many little sort of positive signs and clues in the charts as we've been talking about. We do just have to be mindful that a lot of people are sort of hanging their hopes on this Bitcoin ETF now, and we've got to be ready for those bad headlines. If the ETF doesn't get approved this time around, now you guys know that I think it will be approved eventually. I think that's a no-brainer. But what if it doesn't? As everyone piled in and got their hopes up, and then we get really bad headlines all week, a lot of FUD, and that can really drive the Bitcoin price down. So that's what we just have to be prepared for, and know that FUD's going to come. People are going to try and scare you and think that nothing is ever going to cause the Bitcoin price to consistently go up again now that we haven't got the ETF, if that's the situation and that's how it plays out. So just something to be mindful of, guys. Have your plan. Be prepared. Don't let your emotions get the better of you at the time. Heading over to Ethereum. We've been in this tightening pattern forever here, guys. I'll just take that off the log, sorry. Tightening pattern. We said it was going to follow whatever Bitcoin did. I actually thought it was going to break to the downside, but not break the long-term resistance here at 340. But we've broken bullish out of that pattern. Ethereum is a lot weaker than Bitcoin, though. Barely holding these moving averages, where Ethereum is, Bitcoin is, far exceeding those. And I want it to, Bitcoin to try and get up and test that 200-day, as we see here. It's right ahead of the slower averages. And Litecoin, again, lagging down the bottom here. We still haven't had a weekly close below that really long-term support of sort of $78, $80 there that's been on the charts forever. So we're at an important juncture for all these coins. We've seen the bull show up. Can we continue that action? A good example of those altcoins is probably Power Ledger, just to have a quick look at here. And let's go on the 4-hour chart. So we were sort of saying that, look, there's some of these coins that have been seen by the public as such good value long term that they're not going to let them reach new lows, even if Bitcoin has one more leg down. And so Power Ledger is now up, 155% off the lows. Each time it's sort of rallied, it hasn't given a lot back. The RSI's cool off, and then another leg higher, and that's that stair-step action. It's all healthy consolidation. That's what we saw consistently throughout 2017. In just about all the altcoins, guys. So look, there's plenty of positives all over the charts here. Bitcoin has certainly been the strongest, and again, that's the ETF. We want to be mindful of all that. There's some pockets of good coins performing, but we're going to be mindful of which coins have that money sucked out of them and into Bitcoin, versus which coins are kind of moving independently, having good announcements, and maybe outperforming Bitcoin or matching it on the chart. So that's going to be probably the thing to watch now. But geez, unless we get some really bad news, I think you guys would have to admit that the general sentiment has changed. I had people ringing me, messaging me, how do I buy Bitcoin? People hadn't heard from years. I'm sure you guys have sort of experienced the same this week, which has just come out of the blue after everyone was laughing at us with our crypto portfolios that only ever seem to go down. So that's it for everything this week, guys. I do just want to let you know that I'm working on that very special episode with Dan from the Chart Guys tomorrow night. We'll be going over some top 10 or 20 coins and doing some fundamental analysis while Dan does the charts and some technical analysis. So hope that's an interesting episode for you guys. Be sure to tune in for that tomorrow night. But hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, leave us some comments with your thoughts, guys, and thanks for tuning in again. Cheers.